We've reached a portion of the meeting in the return to public session where we are going to have, we have no action coming out of executive session, but we do have a district happenings, and Megan Ziegenfuss is going to present it this evening.
Just if I could just jump in quickly before Megan does the district happenings, I just wanted to let the board know, two meetings ago or so, we had a district happenings on our buildings and grounds team. That district happenings on our website and on social media received over 7,000 hits. And it was also featured at the opening of the New York State Facilities Association annual conference last month. So that work that Ziegenfuss has been recognized statewide and has been watched far and wide. So congratulations and thank you for putting that work together. And another little piece about some of our PR, our story, the video story done by the NYSBA film crew that came around the district last spring about our school district, our school buildings removed from the focus list, will be featured to kick off the New York State School Boards Association conference next week. It will be shown right before the commissioner comes up to speak. So.
Excellent.
Sorry,
That's okay. Hello. Okay. So for tonight's video, we chose to explore a day in the life of a middle school student. So every child's experience is different, but we wanted to take you through a typical day for one Miller student. We chose a 5th grader in hopes that it would help our 4th grade students and their families gain some insight into this exciting next step in their child's education. So I want to thank Ariana Griffin, our 5th grader, and her family for allowing me to tag along for the day. I had a lot of fun. Ari, you really are exceptional, and you've got a really bright future ahead of you. So here we go.
I'm Ariana Griffin. I'm in 5th grade and I go to Miller Middle School. So when I walk into school, I go upstairs, go to my locker, get all the stuff I need, whether it's for Miss Bell's class or Mr. Kiernan's class. In the morning meeting, we talk about joys, concerns. Today, I talked about how I got injured 52 times in my soccer game that I lost. I love how you just get to be yourself, say what you want, and no one really says anything about it. If you say something that bad happened, they feel sorry for you, or they're happy for you if something good happened. We have something in our school called 3 R's. To be respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. We were doing respectful, and we were talking about just how we have to be respectful. Then I had chorus. I love chorus. It's one of my favorite classes. Out of all classes, that's my favorite. I just love singing. It's something that really expresses me.
Really understand what the author's trying to convey.
If she should drive you home again, you would do Mom's voice. I love Miss Bell's class. She just brings the most out of everyone's day. She's always dancing and singing, and she's really fun. I also love how she shakes the maraca or shakes the tambourine whenever someone has a really good writing. Today I got a tambourine, and it was the first day I ever got a tambourine. Lunchtime, I love lunchtime because I just get to hang out with my friends. Recess, I also like because I get to be with my friends, or just run around and play and that stuff. I go different 19th periods. Today I'm going with Miss Bell. Sometimes I go to the computer. Sometimes I go to library. I can go different places. Middle school has been very fun. You actually get to like get up, walk around, go through the building. I can't wait for it. What I can't wait for is when I can play soccer for Miller. Don't hang out with the people that don't seem nice. Really just have to, basically you have to be nice, be respectful to others. You can really just be yourself.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Ariana, you giving autographs? Thank you very much for that. Well, we've reached the portion of the meeting where we welcome public participation. I'm going to remind you of the rules. We have 2 minutes. It's not a conversation. Please speak directly into the microphone so that our live feed will be audible to the viewers at home. And Mr. Turner will let you know when you're approaching the 2 minutes. Thank you.
Herb Lamb. Again, I'm here to speak about Transportation Policy 84190. It only took 2 weeks for the superintendent to respond in writing as requested at the last board meeting. The state had told me to give the district 48 hours to respond. After waiting 1 week, I forwarded all signed and notarized affidavits to the state stating that the district refused to abide by the deadline. Board of Ed is to make and enforce policy and hire and fire superintendents. This is the main task given by the state, yet it seems that this superintendent is running the board. 3 members have contacted me showing and stating that the policy, or that as the poorly written policy stands, my daughter is entitled to transportation. Yet the superintendent writes the following. I am in receipt of your request regarding transportation for your daughter. The Transportation Department has reviewed your request and confirmed that you reside inside the board policy set limit. In accordance with the policy, your daughter does not qualify for transportation at this time. I have also read and understand your concerns. I will make board policy committee I will be asking the board policy committee to thoroughly review the 8410. I've tried to meet with the superintendent. I've called and tried for appointments with the superintendent and deputy superintendent and not even received a return call. It strikes me as odd that a district who will not spend money on student safety can spend money on naming and dedicating auditoriums not during school hours requiring district overtime to be paid as negotiated in contracts. Thank you.
Anyone else has anyone else? Mrs. Bauer?
This gentleman,
Oh, he's signed up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Ron Carter. I'm a representative of Operation Lifesaver. It's a federal and nationwide public safety organization dedicated to the safety of people at grade crossings, railroad crossings, and reducing collisions, fatalities, injuries, both for pedestrians and pedestrian awareness and trespassing awareness on railroads. Senator Schumer wrote in the September 1st edition of the Daily Freeman that he's asking the community, and in order to prevent these senseless tragedies, more must be done to educate community members, specifically young people, about the dangers of walking on or near railroad tracks and grade crossings. Operation Lifesaver has been in contact with Kingston High School and schools here in the Kingston area regarding this, and I just want to ensure that the school board is aware of it. As a member of Operation Lifesaver, we are dedicated to safety, and we are eager to come into the schools and address this from kindergarten all the way through. And we're eagerly awaiting response from the schools. I believe our New York Director of Operation Lifesaver has already been in contact with the schools. And we just want to make sure that you are aware that we are out there and we're eager to come and help, and we're just waiting to hear back. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who's signed up on the podium?
Thank you, President Shearer, and Dr. Catalino, and board trustees. My name is Bill Reynolds. I live in the city of Kingston, and I am representing a group of parents and students who are members of the varsity alpine ski team. We learned recently of a decision to discontinue the program, and although we haven't received any official notification about terminating the program or the reasons for its termination, we are hearing anecdotally that the decision was the result of budget concerns. As parents who largely fund the program out of our pockets and had full expectation that the program would continue because it was authorized and funded by the board with voter approval, we object to the elimination of this program. The team just began to rebuild last year and enlisted several new skiers, all of whom worked their hearts out to compete in a winter that barely saw any snow, and many of these skiers are right here in the room this evening. The team sent several students to state competition in Lake Placid and the sectional meet in Hunter Mountain. To some of the students, skiing is their only sport. At a time when we receive endless news as parents about drug abuse and the toll that heroin is taking on the lives of young people, we want our kids to have an outlet, especially during winter months when too many adolescents stay indoors. The sport itself not only encourages students to stay fit in winter, but it also allows them to appreciate the spectacular beauty of the Catskill Mountain Range. It allows our students to mingle with students from other districts who share their enthusiasm for skiing. The program cost the district $10,000 to fund transportation and instructor stipends. This is out of a total school budget of more than $160 million. The parents purchase all of our children's equipment and season lift tickets needed to compete at area ski centers. The kids were really looking forward to seeing what they could do in the coming season. Their disappointment at receiving the news
Thank you, Mr. Rowan.
is palpable. We're
Can we
done.
give our 2 minutes? We're not going to speak?
Yes. Are you signed up?
Did not know. Sorry.
I'm sorry, can I just, Mr. Reynolds, I just want to respond. I don't want everyone to have to speak. I just received your email on Monday.
Okay.
And an opportunity for us to have a conversation. As you said, it's anecdotal, and you've heard this, there's nothing official that's been
Okay.
done. I'm gonna give you my card with
Thank
my phone number, on the back is my cell phone number, so you can call me and we'll set, I don't know if you're the representative or if you want to share with someone with the town, like, we'll meet and we'll talk about, where we are and where we can go.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Can I just acknowledge one more thing, Mr. Pellet, or Dr. Pellet?
Are you going to approach
The only thing I was going to say was, were you aware that the combined team, Alpine team, last year, Kingston, Rondout, and FDR, won the state championship?
I haven't looked very deeply into this since receiving the email, but thank you for being aware of that.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else signed up? No? Ms. Bowers?
My name is Maureen Bowers. I am a parent and community member. I just wanted to say that in all my years of involvement in the district, I think that I certainly feel, and I know all my colleagues have always felt, that the safety of our students is the #1 priority. I also sit on the policy committee, and I truly welcome an opportunity to review the policy that the speaker prior mentioned. With that said, however, it really saddens me to see that issue pitted against the issue of the dedication of the auditorium. I speak for my family, who were, particularly 2 of my 3, who were profoundly affected by Mr. Shearer, his teaching, his life, and everything he had to offer. And it is with great pride that we will participate on Saturday night in that ceremony. And I hope that everyone in this district appreciates a community that is willing to honor someone who has given so much to the community and children. And certainly it is an honor for my family. Thank you.
Sit down. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's with great pleasure that I join my second meeting here at the Shoney Building. My name is Adriana Kretzer, and I am leading the hotel project that many of you may have heard about. I just wanted to thank everyone for opening these meetings to the public so that people like myself can attend, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you on this project as we progress in receiving news. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Taylor, and I'm a bilingual family worker with the district. I'm currently assigned to provide interpretation, translation, and related support services to the Spanish-speaking families of and students at the Edson Elementary School, Valley Middle School, as well as the Committee for Preschool Special Education. I've held this position since February of 2003. I'm here to express my support for your efforts to expand pre-K services in our district, and also to add to the conversation that based on my experience, there will surely be many Spanish-speaking families enrolling children, and they will also be in need of interpretation and translation services. Our community, which has become more linguistically diverse in recent years, has many households where a language other than English is the primary language of their household. But of those households, Spanish is the language most often spoken. I believe that there are somewhere close to 20% of our preschool population currently are Spanish speakers, and many of their parents need assistance with communication and daily needs in relation to school. So I ask that this information be included in your conversation, and in the happy event that we can expand pre-K in our district. I'm pleased to support that effort. And on a personal note, I would like to add that my work in this field has been extremely rewarding and interesting, and we have, on behalf of the families I work with, thank you for all you do.
Anyone else who would like to address the board? Okay, then I've seen the first opportunity for public participation, and moving on to the minutes from September 21st. I'll entertain a motion. Okay, any changes or amendments, corrections or amendments to minutes of September 21st? They're in the agenda right after approval of minutes. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And 2 abstentions. Thank you. Okay. That brings us to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have several presentations here tonight, and we are so start moving forward. First, I'd like to welcome our district superintendent, Dr. Charles Corey, who's going to go up and talk to us about our friends down at Ulster Potions. And I noticed, like Sal's also in the audience, our assistant superintendent.
Yes, absolutely.
Ulster Potions.
Thank you. Thanks again. Appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak to you all. Also want to recognize both Mr. Shaughnessy and Mr. Farrell, who both sit on the BOCES board, who are here tonight. Both Kingston residents and obviously representing Kingston on the BOCES board. they give a tremendous amount of time to the work of the board, and obviously on a volunteer basis. So we're thrilled to have them and their voices as we shape kind of the future of our programs. I put a couple of quick handouts on your desk during the break, and I just wanted to highlight a few things. First, our enrollments are up at CTE and special ed, and Kingston continues to be a strong supporter of our programs, both in our career tech program, special ed, and also obviously in our P-Tech program. We have a large number of Kingston students in our cosmetology, criminal justice, and health occupation programs, which when I look back to last year, that pattern is consistent. So those are very popular programs with Kingston students who come to us. As you know, those programs, the CTE programs are 11th and 12th grade programs. They're half-day programs. So those students come to us either in the morning or in the afternoon, and they spend the other half of their day at Kingston High School. We do have about 26% of our overall enrollment, both in special education and career tech, coming from Kingston. And that's pretty consistent and has been consistent over the past several years. We're thrilled for that level of support. I do want to take a couple of moments to talk about our P-Tech program, because really we wouldn't have P-Tech if it wasn't for Kingston's participation. It is, Dr. Catalino has been a supporter of the program from day one, and has really helped shepherd the program's growth over the past few years. We now have 3 cohorts, approximately 51 students, so we have basically freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, although we call them Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. That's my principal's labeling. Our third cohort, or our juniors, is the equivalent of juniors. All have earned college credit already, and several of them have earned a significant amount of college credit. Again, remember the genesis of this program was kids who were not traditionally college bound and were probably problematic in terms of their 8th grade participation, both in attendance and academics. All of the kids, our attendance rate is over 95%. And many of them, as I said, have earned college credit. And I think within the next 5 months, at the end of this semester, some of them will be more on the college campus than they will be on the high school campus. So we're thrilled to see that growth. It's been a very successful program, and appreciate really Dr. Catalino and this board's support of that program. And we are continuing to grow the program. It will eventually have 6 cohorts, and we're moving forward with the growth. I do appreciate the board's help with us relocating. Okay, I know that was a challenging issue. We were trying to relocate before the school year began, but because of interesting fire code regulations, let's say, and the ability to get into the Ulster Community College program building, we were able to extend us our lease with the Carnegie building, and we should be finishing up that lease in the next few days, and then relocating over to the satellite community college campus. That move will take place probably this weekend. We're hopeful it'll take place this weekend. In terms of our programs, in the second page, you see some of the financials, and you can see the consistent level of participation in our programs. If you look at the 15-16 school year, we did overall just about $10.1 million of COSA participation. About $8 million of that $10 million was eligible for BOCES aid. The parts that were not eligible for BOCES aid are special ed, ELL, say ELA, it should say ELL, and transportation aid, which are aided separately. I mean, you get aid on that, but it's not in the form of BOCES aid. Your aid ratio is 66.2%, so that means out of that $8 million spent in 15-16, you'll be getting a refund or aid on that in the succeeding school year. Your BOCES aid will be about $3.3 million. The refund will be about $1.1 million, so I've always said the way to look at that is you've got $8 million of services, and the net will cut to about $3.6 million for that $8 million worth of services. Continue to maintain that we continue to be a pretty good deal. We're thrilled that a couple of new programs that we're building. The Health Informatics program, which is kind of a marriage of computer science and health occupations. You go to a hospital, you go to a doctor these days, they're all walking around with handheld computers and in communication and getting the latest device. Well, there's a technology and a career field behind that, and that's health informatics. And we are introducing it actually already in our P-Tech program, and we'll be introducing it in our Career Tech program beginning next year. We're also introducing drone piloting as part of our aviation program. Believe it or not, piloting of drones is one of the growing career areas in the future. We actually have an ongoing project that we're undertaking right now where our advanced manufacturing and aviation students are designing a drone. We'll build it, we'll equip it with photography equipment, and we'll use it in cooperation with the local agricultural community to fly over the fields, because out in the Midwest they're using photo analysis that's captured by drones to look at the to improve crop yield, okay, because you can detect using drone photography ground views. You can use drone photography to detect disease, plants, insects, and so on. And our kids are already starting to work on that project, and we reached out to the local Growers Association, and we'll be donating our efforts to that. The kids just love this idea and love the challenge. Much in the vein of our Innovations Lab, this is being done through our Innovations Lab, which last year I think you recognized that we had an Innovations Lab team that went to MIT as part of the Inventor Grant Challenge program. We were one of 14 high schools in the country to be recognized by MIT and the Lemelson Foundation. They designed a robotic glove to aid the recovery of stroke victims. This past summer, our solar car / electric car team, the last 2 years, they built an electric car. They raced that car this past summer from El Paso, Texas, to Dallas, Texas, to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Came in second place in their division by, I think it was less than, it's on net miles traveled, and I think we were less than a quarter of a mile out of first place. They should have rolled the car down the last exit ramp. They probably would have won. But it's a thrilling experience. These are kids from all over the county. They built the car. 2 years from now, we're not going to. We tend to enter the car every 2 years. They're going to refine the car. Another electric car race. That one will go from Texas to the San Francisco area. So these kids are not afraid of a challenge, and they always seem to rise up and meet the challenge. So our innovation lab is kind of the petri dish of those kinds of ideas. We throw out problems, the kids come together there, and they figure out solutions to those problems, and then they build it in their tech classes. So we're just at the beginning of our budgeting process for next year. We are developing our programs and developing our budget. My commitment to all of you is we're very sensitive to the cost of our programs, and we're going to work very hard to keep our costs below 2%. Okay, and so that's been our tradition over the last 5 years. I know the tax cap limit will probably be under 1%, with exceptions. In this county, it came to approximately 2% last year, so we're trying to keep it at that number so that we will help you to live within your budgets. The other thing I just wanted to announce, a couple of years ago, we closed our alternative school. We are going to be reopening that school in September 2017. It will be different. It will be called something different. We're in the design process. We're actually traveling up to upstate New York, where there's a very successful all-school program. Actually, it's a series of all-school experiences to look at how they have been so successful in building in some of those design features into the program that we'll be building. All-school is a regular ed setting. It's not a special ed setting, and that's a critical piece to keep in mind. It doesn't mean it's a challenging environment for kids, but we're committed to opening that school up in September 2017, and that will happen. Be happy to take any questions from you, and again, thank you always, as always, for inviting me here to speak.
I don't have any questions, just I want to commend you for your presentation. Thank you for coming. I'm very pleased with the increase in the P-Tech program. I'm always in favor of the program. And hopefully with the drawing technology now and the interest the kids are paying for we see more participation.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thrilled with it, and one of the evolutionary pieces of that program is that, you know, we're at full staff now. We were growing to full staff. We're at full staff. And some of our kids will be more on college campuses next year than be on the high school campuses. So our cost base will flatten out, and we may be able to adjust our costs downward a little bit. So those are, in a day and age when nobody drops prices, we probably are looking as a possibility of dropping our tuition for P-TECH next year. Yeah.
I had a question on alternative education program, will that be located in Port Newland?
I'm not sure. Okay, it may not be the appropriate place for it. You know, we want to work with the community agencies. You know, there's a model that Al Roberts, the president of SUNY Ulster, where he came from, he had an alt school basically on his community college campus. We're exploring that possibility. There are some community agencies that it might be, you know, where our kids will be interfacing more frequently with those community agencies. There's a model down in Rockland County where they call it a community-based center, where there's a school and then a lot of community agencies are co-located in the school so that the services are right where the kids are and their families come to one place to receive services.
That's interesting, also especially thinking about the health village.
Yeah, similar, yeah, it's a similar concept.
But my comment is that I love hearing you talk and I love hearing about all the innovative things that are happening in BOCES. And I ran into someone whose son is, I guess, a chapter 3 at P-TECH.
Yes, okay. Okay.
And she said it's changing the trajectory of his life.
Oh, absolutely.
It was really exciting.
Yeah, it's, every time you go there, you look at, I remember the kids who were coming in their first year. I remember the interview process, I remember seeing them, and you know, they were kids who didn't like going to school, by and large. Were probably not feeling very successful about school, and as Paul knows, and you know, when you don't feel successful, then you don't give it your all. You know, and obviously, they had been successful. I think we've lost in the 3 years one student who chose to return back to his home district. So we have a tremendous success rate. Just attendance, they're coming to school before they didn't. And they're being successful. They have a high rate of passing on all of the exams, and they're earning college credits. So they're well on their way to a good place.
Any other questions?
I just have one. I'm just curious, wasn't there previously a New Visions law program? Is that not in existence anymore?
It didn't carry the numbers, and so basically those kids have been folded into the law enforcement,
Criminal justice program?
criminal justice use. Yes.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
I just want to say, starting my second year on the board, I've found it to be a very rewarding experience. It's a very competent and dedicated organization, and that also applies to the board. We have a lot of friends on the board.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Or just a comment, we're very happy to be partners with all the BOCES. I think that this is not, that course is not your father's Oldsmobile. This is not your father's BOCES. This is, this is high tech. This is real career planning. This is kids are, and you walk through there and you see students, whether it's a P-TECH program or that Port Union, these kids are engaged in learning, and I think that the programs for our students that are heading over there are phenomenal. The faculty and staff are phenomenal, and they're doing a great job. But I think there's the behind-the-scenes things, BOCES, that they help us with that people don't see, and we talk about one of those COSER things, and the support down there from them and that level is also just top of the line. So we're really pleased to be working so closely with Chuck and his team at BOCES.
Thanks for saying that. And of course, you're always invited if anybody wants a tour of the CTE Center. Feedback, just let Paul know, and we'll set it up so you can come over and see it naturally. Okay.
But the Cubs pitcher, he wasn't one of those drone pilots.
No, he wasn't. Very good. Good night, now.
Our next, sorry, I had to explain the drone. Our next presentation is going to be our principal from Miller Middle School, Joe Kirby, and I don't know if she has a team or not, but if she does, she will introduce them.
Team me.
Team Joe.
Actually, after I saw the video of Ariana today, I said I can't follow that up. That is perfect. Like, it's one of those things that you see, and you just want. I watched. I have to say about 8 times because I had to keep showing it to people. But to see a child that happy, just that's why we're in the business. That's why I do what I do. But anyway, Miller in a minute or 5. We'll see how long it takes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, now you're in choice. I had no control before.
Not in the video starting.
Which one am I in? This one.
Yep, go ahead.
These are common vocabulary, words, definitions, and practices that are catching on in the building very clearly. Data-driven instruction, differentiated instruction, tiered lessons, essential questions, higher order thinking, formative assessment, common assessments, and SMART goals. That's just a sampling of things that 5 years ago, very few of these anybody would talk about or were going on. My title came up last, sorry. But very proudly, I have to say that these are curriculum and instructional practices, teacher practices that aren't at 100% now, but in the last 3 years since we went through that really tough state DTSDE review, it was an eye-opener for everybody. I think there's a huge desire to be successful. There's a huge desire to make change. There's a huge desire in the building to make things better for students and have them be successful. What other factors involved in that I want to thank you for your support in getting are the instructional coaches, our assistant directors, our assistant superintendents, the organization that we have and the supports that we have in place. Really have given us the structure and the tiers that we needed. I couldn't do it all. When this all came out, I looked at it and said, there's no way. Then the restructuring, the instructional coaches, the assistant directors, the meetings, and all of us working together and providing the support to the teachers, kind of being their cheerleaders, but getting them what they needed to be successful has been huge for us. And I walked in and I did a formal observation the other day, and a special ed teacher in there. I had observed her probably 3 years ago in the same integrated role with a completely different teacher. At that time, the chairs were in rows. The English teacher was at the front of the room. Special ed teacher kind of stood off to the side. There was like this group read going on, and that's what I was going to get. That was the best lesson that teacher felt they could give me. I saw that same special ed teacher in with a different English teacher this year. It was a group lesson. The assignments, the lesson was tiered, higher order thinking. You couldn't tell who the special ed students were compared to the general ed students. You didn't know which was the special ed teacher or the English teacher. The conversations that were going on among these kids were amazing. It was a very proud moment for me to see this special ed teacher from where she was working with somebody else 3 years ago to where they were at this point. It was a completely different transformation in the instruction that was going on. So we hope to keep that going. That was tenets 3 and 4. This is tenets 5 and 6, which refer to the DTSDE rubric. And this refers to the culture of the students and the parents, some things that we do have going on. PBIS continues to grow in our building. Parent engagement and information nights. We've had 2 of these so far. The first one was down at, the Birches, thanks, Ken. And last night we were down at the Rondout Community Boardroom. That was an interesting one. So we're trying to do outreach to help support our community that hopefully we can connect with by going out to them rather than bringing them into us. So we did one in September, which was a meet and greet. And then last night was more of an informational night, how to help your child with homework, how to help your child with reading, how to help your child with peer interactions, things like that, and information. Wasn't as well attended as we had hoped, but we'll keep going. Mustang Mentors is a program that we developed, and it's in our, all these are in our set plan, by the way. Mustang Mentors, we currently have 25 staff members that are taking part in this, that are mentoring students throughout, that they don't have it, they're not in their own grade level, they're not in their classes, they're students in other grade levels, that they've taken on this mentoring role to agree to meet with them once a week and be a person that they can go to. So it's in our, I think, We've had 2 meetings so far. All the mentors have met with their students, kind of introduced themselves, gotten to know the kids. Our next meeting of the entire group will be a mixer so that the kids can see each other and see that they're not the only one that has a mentor. So it's kind of like, no kid said no to it. The teachers reached out, introduced themselves, and 25 kids now have a go-to person, somebody that didn't know anything about them before that they're working with. Quarterly student grade level meetings, we always do our beginning of the year expectation for the students. Kim and I have dedicated once a quarter that we're going to bring the entire grade level together, sit down, review, give the teachers time to review, guidance counselors, any concerns or any things that we want to speak about in a way that's positive, what we need to still work on. So gathering those groups will be a difference of things we haven't done before. Motivational Mondays, I started last week. We share a quote that I've asked. I read the quote 3 times on the PA, sent it to the teachers in the email. They took some time out during the day to review the quote with the kids. And I had different people approach me in different ways. I got some emails. I got some papers from kids that worked on it as a group to analyze what it meant. And it's about self-esteem. It's about bullying. It's about all different things. And it really was, they took time in that environment to talk about some of the big things that make them be successful in Miller. Our book study. I'm sure you all know about our book study. District-wide book study. We did a very intensive activity at our faculty meeting last week on the book study. Very thorough and went through chapters 1 through 4, divided them up into groups. And I could just tell by the time we got done with it that people felt, this is really where we are. These are the things that we need to face. So sensing that, I turned to them and I said, I'm going to give you a challenge as a building, as adults in the building. I want you to go up to one student, and some of you may have seen this on YouTube. Go up to one student and tell that student that they are the reason that you come to school in the morning, that you are the reason that you like to go to work every day. So we took, I just put it out there, I reminded some, I got them starting, Thursday was the faculty meeting, I got them all throughout the day on Friday, I got some on Monday, I got another one today. But I brought 3 of them with you that I just want to share. Because I think we lose focus sometimes on, we think about all the things that we have to overcome, and we forget about the students that are really good kids, that, the video today, I told you I watched it 6 times. Those are the motivational things that you really need to look at, because there are some great kids there. So these are the videos, they're gonna go one at a time, but.
Hey Gia. Yeah. Do you know that you're one of the reasons I love coming to school every day? Yes, you are. Thank you for making it a good year so far.
Colin, I wanted to tell you that you are one of the reasons why I love coming to Miller to work every day. You put such a smile on my face every time I see you. So thank you for being you. Keep being awesome.
Yay!
And that's it. Questions?
It sounds like a lot of wonderful things are happening there.
And that's why I like to come to school. Yes.
Thanks for the presentation. It was great to see what's going on at Miller. I was wondering what the requirements are, how children who were receiving a mentor, how are they chosen?
We took a long time in going through that. I have my support team. We meet one morning every site of the 6 days. And we took a long time going through this exhaustive list. We, at the first faculty, we asked for suggestions. And of course, the first third of the list was all kids that had mandated counseling and really needed the intense support. We wanted to get to the kids that were kind of lost. So we as a group went through a lot of different things and pulling them out. And it ends up that the 25 we have, none of them have mandated counseling. So there are an additional 25 that we are really reaching and giving a go-to person. And I think we're going to see great strides with that.
And how do you choose the mentors?
They signed up, but if there was anybody, and I can tell you the turnout is probably 3 times what I thought it was going to be. It really was. And they're all great people. They're dedicating time. Like again, it's not somebody that they see in class. It's not somebody that they see in the hallway. And they're, if it's a 5th grade teacher, they may have an 8th grade student. So we carefully matched them up. Like I said, we only had one that we had to move around a little bit. But You know, they kind of pick themselves, how's that?
That's great, thank you. Reverend Chad?
I just think this is great. You know, when I see some of the things that's being done, it's pretty exciting to me, and a lot of things that can be done doesn't cost extra money. It's really just showing that you care, and to me, this whole thing that you're just speaking about will really impact kids. I mean, I can just from the few there, but if that's going on, you get more teachers doing that, or people in the building, not to be teachers, adults, that just lets a child know that I really care about you, I'm glad to see you, and I appreciate what you're doing. I think it'll build kids up greatly. So thank you.
And I needed to build the adults up as well. I needed to remind them that there are good kids in our building. Go tell them and enjoy that moment of interacting with kids and seeing them. Going once? Thank you very much.
And I did, Ms. Twilliger, the vice principal, is also, she was hiding back there.
And Mr. Mugger.
Yeah, it's okay. Last is always, it's not.
And next, I'm going to ask Mr. Olson to introduce our representative from Solar City, who's here to do a presentation.
Mr. Walsh.
Oh, there he is. You're behind the podium.
Hi, I'm back there. Thank you very much for the time. I believe you have the presentation or distributed. Mike was kind enough to load it up so we can put it up here, but we'll have to turn off the lights. We can probably see it okay here, and if we need to dive in, we can. You know, in the interest of time, I don't want to go through this in significant detail because I know we've got a lot on your docket tonight. But I can give you a pretty good overview. I believe that a colleague of mine spoke to the district maybe a year and a half or so ago, so you may have a general concept of this program. I've worked a little bit, or I've worked a lot, I guess, with a few meetings with Mr. Olson and Mr. Clapper here to figure out why the solar project didn't really work for the district last time and how we might be able to retool it and make it work this time. So give me kind of a general overview. Again, my name is Nick Walsh. I'm with Solar City. What I do is help guide school districts and other public entities through this process of going solar, and helping you take advantage of all the benefits that go along with that, which we'll talk about. You know, the overarching concept here is obviously reduce the district's energy spend budget by providing lower cost clean energy. Along with this, and we'll talk about it a little bit, there's an educational component to help the kids embrace the renewable energy tech that's out there. And we help the faculty learn how to bring that to the students. And then there's always that green cred kind of thing that, you know, some districts and entities that are going solar like to have, that they're actually taking steps towards this renewable energy future. And this all falls under Governor Cuomo's Sun Initiative through the K-Solar program. A little bit here. So you may be very well familiar with K-Solar, but just generally, what this program is NYPA in conjunction with NYSERDA, in conjunction with New York SED, put together a program to vet out solar developers so that they can basically take the headache of putting out an RFP away from the districts and the schools. So they did a statewide RFP, vetted out solar developers. Solar City was chosen among those developers, and I can give you a little background on our company as well. But long and short of it is they went through a pretty strict vetting process. They've negotiated a power purchase agreement contract that can be used, and obviously we can talk about certain terms that may or may not work for the district. It's not an ironclad document, but it's, I've been in this industry for a little while now, and it's one of the better contracts I've seen from customer side, and that's because they were able to negotiate from a position of strength, obviously, with so many districts that they represent without throughout the state. The other key components to that are SED has agreed to an expedited permitting process, so you know how long that can sometimes take when you're looking for permits from SED. We have a system in place with them where we've got a third-party group that's looking over the permits, and it's going pretty quickly. Generally turn around a permit in application in maybe 3 weeks or so. They're looking to get it to 2, but let's say realistically it's been maybe 3-4 weeks at this point, which is still great. NYPA is still offering a $20,000 no strings attached grant for the first 50 schools that sign up through the K-Solar program. I believe the number now is about 36, 38, so potentially there's still an opportunity to just get a little extra bump from NYPA on that. And as I mentioned, there's an educational component, and that's something that's provided within the agreement. And quickly what that is we have an entity called Solar One that we partner with, and what they'll do is provide training for a few of your faculty you choose to be able to bring that back to other faculty to talk to the students. There's a curriculum set up and a portal, a web portal that you can get to that curriculum that's constantly updated. And it's not just a solar curriculum, it's renewable tech, basically. So it's kind of an exciting thing to bring into the district and give you just another avenue to get kids that might be interested in that kind of thing engaged. And then another part of that is we try to make it as visible as possible. In that we'll put a kiosk somewhere that your determination in a lobby somewhere, and that'll allow for everybody passing through to see how much power is being generated, what the environmental offsets are in terms of taking cars off the road or planting trees and those kind of things, kind of translatable items that people like to see. So, and there'll be an online monitoring platform that if you're not near the kiosk, you pull it up on your laptop or someplace else in the classroom. So, all in all, K-Solar, I think, has put together, or NYPA has put together a great package within K-Solar, and we're very happy, Solar City is very happy to participate in that. Quickly about Solar City, we're a little over 10 years old now, which makes us kind of old players in the solar business, actually. Largest solar developer, both residentially and commercially, in the United States. So we've got a lot of background. We operate in 27 states. Here in New York, we have about 500 to 600 employees, and I think there's now 5 warehouses that we generate our maintenance out of, for the O&M. So we're very happy to be chosen through that pretty stringent vetting process. I think there were around 30 developers that applied for this, to be part of this program. So specifically, the project for your district here. The problem last time was that we were really, the group looking at it before from Solar City was really concentrating on the buildings themselves and putting solar on the roofs of the building. And it was determined that maybe not be the best course of action, in that some of the buildings are a little older or the roofs are a little bit older, and just from a structural standpoint, it didn't make a lot of sense for the district, and completely understand that. So in looking at this again over the course of the last year or so, what we determined as a path forward is that we can use what is available in New York called remote net metering, where we'll actually get land in the district, doesn't have to be school property, put the solar on that land, and then the meter that is running with that solar system will calculate all the solar kilowatt hours that are being pushed out into the grid, and the district gets credit for those hours from the utility. So that's what we're looking at doing now. And that project would, if all goes completely well, and then there are some moving parts that I'll discuss later, but in an ideal scenario, We've got a lease on land for about 10 to 15 acres. Right now, we're talking to a number of different interested landowners, getting LOIs worked out. So we'll lease land again. It'll be within the school district, as part of SEB's rules. The solar system itself will be 2.5 megawatts, producing a little over 3 million kilowatt hours a year. Just to give you some perspective on that, the district's history, you're currently using about 8,670,000 kilowatt hours. So this is going to be a little over a third, about 38% of the district's historic power would then be clean energy. And the way that this works is currently you're paying a little bit over 9 cents a kilowatt hour for solar. For electricity. The solar kilowatt hours would be contracted at a rate about 10% below that at 8.1 cents. And the term is 18 years. So typically what I hear from folks on the budgeting side of things is that A, it's great, you're getting a savings on what the electricity costs off the bat, and B, it's a budgetable number. So you'll look at the schedule that we have of, okay, your rate starts at 8.1, it's going to go up 2% a year, but you've got that number scheduled out for 18 years, so it's easy to plug into budgets instead of trying to guess on the volatility of the electric market. So it gives you a really nice hedge against the volatility of the typical market. We have projections that, based on that agreement, the district's going to save about $30,000 or $30,635 in year one, with an 18-year savings of $627,000. Again, with the other benefits tied in with that. So that's, obviously all the good stuff, right? You save money, you get green credit, you get education, awesome. I'm walking out of here as a superhero. But, I do like to be fully transparent and tell you that, this is a large project. Two of the major hurdles that will, or I'd say the largest hurdle that we'll face is that you've got to deal with the utility and get the system interconnected. We do it all the time, but that's always kind of the challenge. So I guess my point being that sometimes these things change. The size might change, different things may change, but at the end of the day, we're always going to have the conversation and communicate as to what's happening as we're going through the due diligence period, and make sure we're all in agreement moving forward. But I'd say that for the most part, it should run very smooth. I always just put that out there. Hate to end on a down note like that. But I want to be fully transparent about how these projects can go. I'd say that the next steps, if you choose to want to go through with this, or at least start the vetting process, is obviously get attorneys to review the contract. We can have that dialogue. We've worked with, at this point, of the 36 K-Solar schools signed up, I think about 29 of them have been with Solar City, so we've worked with a number of different attorneys, some easier to work with than others, but we're okay with that. And then once we get contract approval and our LOI on the property, we can go ahead and start with that pre-interconnection application and start moving forward there. So I'll pause here for questions. Again, I wanted to try to run through it quickly, and I know you've got other things to address this evening. Happy to elaborate on any of the points a little bit further, should you want me to. So I'll open it up. Yes, please.
What is the cost for the solar?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have made that clear. So there is no cost.
No.
The way that these PPAs are set up, power purchase agreement, is that Solar City pays to put the equipment in. We're investing all the money, and then it's just set up as an 18-year agreement with the district that, again, for every kilowatt hour that comes off the system, you're going to be paying 8.1 cents on that. So
it's
we
like
own
a
the
lease
system.
agreement?
We
Is there a
sell.
lease agreement with the equipment anywhere?
Sort of, yeah. It's not a lease in that you're paying a set amount each month, you're just buying the power that's coming off that system. But, yeah, so there is no upfront cost to the district. There's really no ongoing costs other than the 8.1 cents. We're going to be operating and maintaining, insuring, making sure the land lease is taken care of. So it's a pretty light lift in terms of transaction and obviously no CapEx for the district. And then there are options at the end. 18 years is the term set up by K-Solar and SED. If you decide you want to extend it because the life of the system do go well beyond 18 years, we can extend it, or there are other mechanisms at the end, either terminate the contract or even sell at fair market value the system to the district at that point.
Mr. Shaughnessy?
A couple of questions. Solar City is will be manufacturing in the new plant in Buffalo. Has that started yet?
Manufacturing has not started yet. I think right now it's slated for end of Q1, maybe Q2 next year. But yeah, we're very excited about that.
I had another question. Oh, so will it be, in the installation, will there be any kind of educational opportunity for our students to tour it or have field trips to it to explain to them what's going on, how it works?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I was just asked, one of my first K-Solar system was just coming online, and they asked me to come and give a presentation to an 8th grade assembly. So we're happy to blend that into the program. And probably not during installation,
right?
But afterwards, and everything's up and running, it's a safer construction zone, not a construction zone anymore. Yeah, happy to work that out.
Can I ask a question? At
Yes.
the end of the 18-year lease, what happens to the equipment? Does the district?
So there are 3 options at the end of the contract. Either we can talk about renewing that term for another 5 years, similar program, and discuss whatever the rate for the kilowatt hours are going to be, and move ahead on a 5-year term. We can do that up to 3 times. Or you can say, hey, Solar City, we've got something else we'd rather do right now. Thank you very much. It's been a great 18 years. And we'll remove the system from that land and return the land to the landowner. Or lastly, the district could buy the solar system if they wanted to at what is determined to be fair market value at that time. I can't tell you what that number is right now, but it'd be a third-party appraiser that would come in and say, okay, this 18-year-old solar system is worth X. Would you like to purchase it for that amount? And if you did, then clearly there's no more power purchase agreement. All the power is then free at that stage. So those are the 3 options, and you don't have to make that determination until you're 17 and a half.
All maintenance of the equipment in the course of the 18-year lease is the responsibility of Solar City?
Yeah, yeah. And I should explain that the goals here from a business standpoint are very, very much aligned from Solar City and the district, in that we want the system to be operating at full capacity, optimal capacity at all times, because the only way we make the money back from investing all that money in the system is to sell kilowatt hours. And if it's not working properly, then we're losing money.
All right,
So,
one question I have, the land that you would intend to put the solar equipment on, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're leasing. What if the owner decided they needed to sell it? Or there was,
well, we'll have
Of course,
a legal document, a lease for 18 years with option for the other 5. So if they decided to sell it, there would be some back end on that document that the new landowner would have to honor the lease for the remainder of the lease. The other thing I forgot to mention, as I was just talking about how our motivations are aligned here, and I can't believe I didn't mention it, within K-Solar and the contract that they've negotiated, I think the single biggest point that they got that a typical solar developer contract wouldn't have is a pricing credit guarantee. So what that means is that if for any reason the cost of conventional power dipped below the cost of the solar PPA, you'd be credited for that differential. So they basically, this contract takes all the risk out of something like that happening, so there's essentially no way to lose on the deal at worst. You break even at the end of 18 years, which is highly unlikely because the cost of conventional power is at historic lows now, so if we're 10% below that, I feel pretty comfortable. But that's, I think, a significant point that there really is not a financial risk in any way, shape, or form with this agreement. And there's also a production guarantee. I think that's what John and Norman were talking about that. So we'll guarantee how many kilowatt hours are going to be produced off that system over the course of the lifetime. And if it doesn't produce that much, there's also a compensation mechanism. Yes?
And we didn't get this beforehand, but I think it said we need 10 acres. Is that what it said?
So the system, that system size will be between 10 and 12 acres.
And do we have any possible locations?
We do, yeah. We're talking to a few landowners in the area. It's one of those things that's, the cart and the horse kind of thing. You can have a signed PPA in hand from the district, or at least the best thing that we're working on now is getting a letter of intent for an option on a land lease should you decide to move forward, and then we can have both of those documents kind of come in concurrently. But yes, there are several landowners that are interested in doing this.
And then does the landowner, they receive solar similarly to us, or?
No, they're just receiving payment for their acreage.
No matter.
So if you know anybody, it's got to be in the district.
Yeah, knowing what we're going to come up with in Texas and knowing the operatives, I've been all by what you call legislators, I'm surprised that the industry is picking up and there's no taxes involved. Like nobody's paying anything, and I'm sure this is going to come up. If it's not now, it's going to come tomorrow. I just wonder it would be graded implications. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is the fear that that deterred us the last time to get involved with this.
Yeah. So it's a very valid point. Right now, within any of the areas we're looking at within the district, there's a tax exemption on real property, solar real property, for 15 years. So potentially there's taxes on the last 3 years of this contract, which we're baking into the numbers, and it's not. And once you're kind of in that lane, they can't come in and tax you. Once you've got that 15-year exemption, they can't come in and tax you and change the policy midstream. So it is a valid.
Yeah, but I understand also the production or the usage of these kilowatt hours that will be using. That's why I believe the taxes are going to come now for taxes.
Well, in most instances, I would say almost all in solar, and I'm talking nationally, because we're in 27 markets, and everybody's different from utility to state and different counties. Again, typically, whatever the rules are when the project is contracted and goes online, you're grandfathered in under that statute. I would say that recently in Nevada, they tried to change the rules midstream and take away some of the value from folks that had solar, and it's being overturned back to the way it was grandfathering. It has been overturned and being grandfathered in. So.
Yeah, but we're not trusting New York State legislature.
Well, that's why you have your attorneys work in verbiage that you're not on the hook for it if something like that happens.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
So I presume under this program, there's no RFP required on our part,
Correct.
and there's no referendum for an 18-year capital project, essentially.
Right. Yeah. You're basically
It's our decision.
within the NYPA RFP under the piggybacking laws.
Okay.
Yeah, they've run the RFP for you. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time and attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's okay.
report. And so next we have our professional development focus report with our assistant superintendents from our teaching and learning department. Just while they get set up, Mr. Olson and I will put together more information on this for board conversation at our next meeting, and then potential for decisions.
I make a comment about the solar. So last night, I don't know, maybe it was in the Washington Post or somewhere, I saw a picture from Germany, solar installation. The caption was that they've shut down 8 of 22 nuclear power plants in Germany, replaced it with solar. The plan is to close the remaining 14 or whatever by 2022 and have 30% of their power generated by solar. So I think it's really the way of the future for us.
Okay. Mrs. Bonneville, you all set? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Research has shown us that teaching quality and school leadership are the most important factors in raising student achievement. And so we know that educators need to continually hone their craft. So recognizing that, the professional development initiative throughout our district is seen in our DSIP, in our district comprehensive improvement plan, as well as in our school comprehensive education plans throughout the district. Our professional development really starts from the prior year. So at the last board meeting, Dr. Jacobowitz spoke of some of the sessions that we had during Superintendent Conference Day. Our professional development is thought about really continually, even in the prior year. We're thinking about what are the needs of our teachers and what are the needs of our administrators. The list of sources that are on this slide are what the teaching and learning team reference to inform our professional development needs.
So our professional development for the November 8th focused on primarily the piece that focused on tenets 3 and 4. The main focus was differentiation. Differentiation was highlighted as a need in almost all of the DTSDE reports. We really want to focus on, and we need to focus on, taking all of our students from the starting point and bringing them up as high as we possibly can. Through that, we recognize that our teachers need additional training in that they've expressed that need, and it's evident in some of our scores. So what we're looking at, we looked at planning and how planning comes into play, using data to drive their instruction and target specific skills, the content process and what the end product was, how the students are getting there, and again, meeting all the needs of all of the students. Higher order thinking, questioning was also something that was really highlighted in and is addressed in most of our SEP plans and our DTSDE. We had training on higher order thinking questioning, on how to access those questions, how to frame those questions. A lot of our teachers understand the need to have higher order thinking. They don't necessarily know how to get our students to that point. Some of the other things that were highlighted were the tiered assignments, recognizing that tier 2 practice in the classroom is something that is really difficult and it was difficult to manage. So we recognized that they needed some development in that. So beyond just simply guided reading and doing center groups, we really needed to differentiate and again focus on instruction that meets the needs of all of our students all of the time. We also have focused on having our coaches at all levels, elementary and middle, focusing on working with teachers and modeling, helping them plan, helping them really utilize the data to drive instruction, how to integrate technology, how to engage their students in learning. And that was all embedded into the opening professional development and the professional development through I'm sorry, and I said November 8th, I apologize, I meant the opening staff development, but it is in planning for our November 8th as well. It will continue.
to turn it over to Bill, and it's 5 minutes.
So some of the areas of professional development, we look around the tenets 5 and 6, we are continuing to provide professional development to our school teams in the area of PBIS, and still working with Dr. Dorothy Albogrodsky through our BOCES, who comes in and helps and meets with our teams, our school teams quarterly, and she also is available with schools to observe team meetings and to be part of the process of strengthening our tier 2 and 3 strategies. This universal rollout that we have this September was really about tier 1 and universal expectations. And what we need to do at this point is we've developed the capacity for tier 2 and 3, which is more intensive supports around behavior. And she's going to work with our district this year in order to meet with school teams to strengthen those areas so that the students that need additional support are going to have their needs met that way. We're also working with the Empathy Institute, with David Levine, and part of our response to intervention plan, if you don't know this, there is a portion which is called the academic, social, emotional learning linkage. So right in our RTI plan, we actually have a way to capture some of the social, emotional supports and needs of our students. Therapeutic crisis intervention, if you don't know what that is, it's a program that really deals with de-escalation techniques for adults to work with children. There's a capacity where there are some physical restraints, but really what our focus on is for de-escalation. How do you approach a situation? How do you deal with not triggering an event? How do you deal with that escalating event and bring the student back to baseline so they get back into classes and achieve at a high level? And our Dignity for All Students Act, and this is really kind of where people report bullying going on. We've identified our coordinators for each school, and we've also trained our coordinators this year on the expectations and the protocols around that. Some of the things that we're also looking to provide professional development for some of our counselors and support staff are in the areas of eating disorders, teen dating and violence, transgender issues, and also working with the county SPOA group, which is single point of access. We actually have 3 social workers that are going to be members of that group, who we meet on a weekly basis to talk about some of the challenges in the county. And they were looking for some school representation. We have 3 social workers that we're very excited to rotate through those meetings as well. And we're also working with TAC-D, which is the Technical Assistance Center for Disproportionality. And they're going to work with our district on figuring out the root cause of why we have a disproportionate amount of suspensions compared to other school districts in the state around certain subgroups. So those are some of the other areas that we're actually building professional development in these areas as well. Tenets 2 through 6, we've realized an increase in our economically disadvantaged population, which has driven, as Joe Burby had mentioned, our book study, district book study around Eric Jensen's Engaging Students with Poverty in Mind. Each building leader has been tasked with holding book studies and having activities around this book. We are also building into our next Superintendent's Conference Day time around this subject as well for all buildings to participate. And we have an addition of a social worker to assist with attendance at the middle level and to report to you. And I spoke with Monica Olivier just the other day that she has about 30 students and families that she's currently working with between the 2 middle schools right now to support their attendance. And that's involving home visits, that could be involving filing PINS petitions, but that could be also being active in supporting families in family court as well. The professional development survey, teachers and staff from this 2 superintendent conference days were asked to comment and reflect on the level of professional development and the quality. And they were given a link to do an online survey, and they were given a 2-week period to respond. We had 353 responses of our total faculty and staff, and within that 2-week period, when you put out a survey, you don't get close to 100% most times, but I think it was a pretty healthy representation of that. Beth up.
So in terms of changing or enhancing our practice, of course, that is our goal, to enrich that for our teachers. Some of the ways that we did that at secondary level were mentioned by Dr. Jacobowitz last time that we spoke of this. We had common expectations for writing that we did across all of our departments at secondary. We crafted action steps that were based on the DSIP, and that was across all departments as well. We of course did differentiation and tiered assignments at the secondary level with Bob Eisminger. And I will ask Dr. Felicello to speak to the enhancements for elementary.
So some of the things that I highlighted in my talk discussion earlier about tenets 3 and 4, but at the elementary level, the teachers really walked away with concrete, actionable steps to be able to implement and really reinforce differentiation in the classroom. We had Bob Eisminger come and present in August, and we are continuing our work with him, August and September, and we're continuing our work with him in November and throughout the course of the year in providing those kinds of strategies. We're also utilizing our coaches in we feel we restructured that coaching model so that they're really focusing on the specific needs that were highlighted, such as improving their guided reading practices, and again, differentiation through centers in the classrooms, and also in really differentiating on math curriculum as well at the elementary level. Turn it over to Ms. Bond.
We were really happy to see this slide, that the presenters were knowledgeable. Many of our presenters were in-house teachers, our instructional coaches. We were able to capitalize them, and our teachers are just thrilled to work with one another and actually, obviously to work with the coaches that they're familiar with. We also, as already mentioned, had Bob Eisminger work with our district, not only with our teachers, but also with our administrative staff at our leadership days in August. So Bob was able to have the administrators familiarize themselves with tiered assignments and differentiation, and have a refresher, if you will, and then included that information in his work with the teachers. We had our literacy coaches at elementary also present on reading and in math centers. So we really had a real wealth, great team working with us, and we will continue to do so throughout the year.
And just to report as well, special education teachers participated alongside their counterparts in general education for a lot of these initiatives, but there are certain groups that were pulled out in a different fashion, and these are what we call our related service providers, occupational physical therapists, speech therapists, our social workers, and our psychologists. And just to give you kind of capture what they did on those days, Dr. Novogradsky from BOCES, who works with our PBIS initiative, also came to discuss some of the areas of concern and need for ideas around collecting data in the classroom and progress monitoring that data. Because when we look at students that have behavioral challenges, one of the things that we need to do is, once we put an intervention in place, we need to make sure that we're collecting data to see if that intervention is working or not. So she gave some pretty good concrete ideas of how to work with teachers, simple data collection forms in order to do that more effectively. Rachel Baldan from Ulster BOCES, who's the assistive technology coordinator there, came in and spoke to our occupational physical therapists about, and the teacher of the deaf and the visually impaired, about assistive technology that's actually out there. And when we talk about technology, it could be anything from a pencil grip, which is a very low technology, or to some computer-based software or an app that might be on a tablet that a student can use. So that was one of the requests that they had, to make sure that they knew what kind of was out there. She gave them some resources in order to be able to do that more effectively. And David Levine did meet with our social workers and psychologists to talk about empathy and the work that he's doing with the school district. We wanted to find out the overall how people rate the overall professional development. And if you look at this here, we have 349 people answer this particular question. And the way that the graph is set up, it kind of is misleading to a degree. We have satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and excellent. What excellent would be the people that really felt it was very, very, very effective. If you take the excellent and satisfactory and put them together, 82.5% of our faculty and staff thought that our professional development was organized, effective, and worthwhile. And a very small percentage that didn't feel that way. Dr. Fosso.
So, and lastly, we just wanted to highlight the feedback from some of the staff regarding our professional development survey, from the professional development that we offered in August, the 31st and September. The overarching theme is that the professional development was relevant. They walked away with tools that they could really use in their classrooms immediately. And some of the suggestions were that we incorporate training specific to TAs or department specific. And as you can see from this feedback, overall the staff felt positive with regard to the PD sessions and left with actionable resources and training. We recognize that all teachers would like more time in the classroom, but to continue to grow as professionals and continue to raise the bar, exposure and training to innovative methods of teaching is critical. So, and as always, we will take the feedback from the staff and continue to build our future PD sessions through reflection. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Dr. Wood?
I'm really interested in the work that you're doing with Dean. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that looks like in terms of professional development and who attends those sessions.
We met with the TACD group, and basically how it's going to work is that there's going to be a survey that's going to be put out to all faculty and staff initially. Then we're going to do building walkthroughs to all the buildings, and there's criteria built around that. And then there will be sessions with stakeholders from all different areas of the school district and different buildings. A group of about 30 to 40 people, including building administrators, being part of the root cause analysis group. I have some very specific information on that I could share. It's a letter from the NYU and the TACD Institute of the different things that they're going to expect during the walkthroughs. There's walkthrough tools that they've provided us, and we've given some guidance to our building principals that this is going to happen, and kind of how I'm explaining to you. And at our principals meeting this Thursday or tomorrow, we're going to give more specificity to our building leaders so that they can be part of the process. And how we determine our teams is one of the discussions that we're going to have as well.
There'll be a team at each school.
There'll be a district team and a representation from each school, yes.
I'd love to see those materials actually, if it's not too cumbersome.
I can forward them to Dr. Catalina.
And then I'm interested in what's happening on November 8th. You touched on it a little bit, but what the focus will be and how it's kind of integrated with some of the other things that we've been talking about.
So it looks a little bit different between elementary and secondary. Dr. Felicello felt very strongly about having Bob Eisinger come back and work with her teachers. So I won't speak for her, but I know that that's one of her highlights of that day. At secondary level, we're going to be spending half the day on the book study. And then the other half of the day will be the quarterly check-in on steps and the action steps for each department, as well as any PBIS work that they need to do at the building level.
So at the elementary level, we are going to have Bob Eisinger. We are having the buildings, they're spending a half a day. We split the district, the elementary schools in half as best as we could. And we are going to have a half a day on differentiation and Tier 2 implementation in the classroom, while our teaching assistants from those respective buildings will be training with our coaches and our CALC facilitators on how to incorporate and support, not incorporate, support Tier 2 practices in the classrooms. So we want to give our teaching assistants some of the skills that they need and also to support some of those discoveries that we're looking at and embedded in the CAL program. So enriching all of our students and on all levels. So the teaching assistants will receive that training, and that was based on the feedback that we received from the August and September staff developments. The building sessions, they'll have a half day with each school will have a half day with Bob Eisner on differentiation and with coaches, and then they'll have a half day at the building. The building will focus on their quarterly evaluation of their SEP plans, looking at where they are, where they need to go, if they've met the goals, if they're on track. They'll also be focusing a portion on engaging students with poverty in mind book study, and they'll be focusing on PBIS. They'll also be doing a 15-minute block for the TACD survey, which will be coming up, so they'll have time to do that as well.
Any other questions? And I trust we'll get information sent to the board so that we can utilize it when we're doing our survey on our purpose and goals, district superintendent and others. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, we have one more superintendent's goal, but I would ask if we could break the protocol for a second and allow the clerk of the board to check her phone because she's expecting to be a grandmother anytime soon. Her phone is ringing, so that's what it is.
It wasn't her, it was my mother, and I don't think she'd be the one calling me.
Okay, so now we can resume our regularly scheduled board meeting. Our last superintendent's part of the superintendent's report today is our friends from KSQ and BBL. Save the best for last.
Do we have people? We do have to give them pictures.
Good evening. Thanks for having us again. We're going to give some quick updates, and then Robin is going to talk about the ongoing construction and a lot of great photos. Our office with KSQ, Scott, we've been putting together the main mechanical bid package that are out in the street now. We had contractors picking up drawings, looking at drawings. We had a pre-bid walkthrough the other day with a decent turnout. We had more looking at our plan holders list. There's a good amount of contractors that are looking at the projects. We're well over, I think we're at the dozen mark of HVAC contractors that have picked up plans. Over the course of the next few weeks, we'll fine tune it to make sure which ones are actually going to bid or just looking. So the turnout's been pretty good so far. About mid-November, November 15th is when we'll accept bids, and then we'll hit the board cycle in December to make recommendations to the board. That work is following the abatement work that took place this past summer. There's more abatement work that take place this upcoming summer to complete that. We phased it out during the short summer months. So the main mechanical systems will commence periods of late spring, early summer, and follow through the course of the summer, be completed by the start of the school year 2017. Fieldhouse Phase 2, working with Scott and our teams together. We had some good results over the last few packages that we sent out, and how things align with this SCD buckets. It allowed us an opportunity to complete the fieldhouse work during this current phase of construction. Those documents have been completed. Happy today we sent out the notice to bidders form to Margarita so she could formally publish that in the paper next week or so. At the beginning of November, documents will be ready. We will hold a pre-bid meeting with contractors. Behind the scenes, we have been actively calling. They actually call us at times, making sure that these upcoming projects are still taking place, so that the market is still interested. Prepping them for the work, explaining to them what it is. Again, we'll do that whole process of trying to educate them and prepare them, keep them interested. We will take bids at December 14th. Our recommendations will hit the following board meeting, which is the first one in January. We'll go through the vetting out process and make sure they're qualified. They haven't made a mistake that we feel they made a mistake. As a team here, we'll look at the schedule of values they propose and make sure again that they're qualified bidders for the district. That work will take place over the summer of 2017 and be completed for the start of the school year. There's still a lot of coordination to do with that. Robin and the rest of her team. They meet with her, they meet with the AD, just to sequence certain things that we have in the bid schedule right now. We're aware that activities will take place in the mid-months of August at the field house. So we want to make sure we plan for everything that we possibly can in working with the curriculums and the school departments. The main second phase, Scott, you wanted to talk a little bit about the highlights of that. We've worked with Scott and his firm with regards to the work involved at the main second phase that scope aligns with the project documents. But at this point, the next steps are that we're going to wait to the regeneration of funds and then we fine tune.
Right. So the phase 2 for Maine includes all the renovations inside Maine, including the classroom areas and the art suites, things like that. And so to make sure that we're aligned with funding and state building aid, this will be finalized and sent to SED at the appropriate time so that we get a building permit that would allow us to go right out to bid as soon as the funding is regenerated, so that you get building aid on this portion of the project. So we anticipate sometime in 2017 going to the state. And one of the parameters of going to the state is how busy they are. So right now, they're only about 4 months with reviews for both architectural and engineering. But we keep a close eye on that because that can change very quickly. We've learned that over the last several years. So we'll continue to pay attention to that and adjust our schedule to make sure that it aligns with the State Education Department review process.
And one of the last parts of that is when, as we approach getting near Robin and her team, they've been talking a little bit with Kirk, but we'll start fine-tuning space requirements that we can obtain to sequence construction. Areas that the district does need to maintain programs, what areas we can work in. We want to try and have a package that effectively allows us to get in and get out quickly without interrupting the daily routines of the district. Ongoing items, we're continuing to work with the district on future packages and any of the effectively costs. Robin and Scott have been working with the furniture selection, and we're getting closer. So that work is in place and planned for starting to populate the new wings in late summer, midsummer of this 2017. We will have a quick winter and a mild winter, and we'll be loading the building with furniture soon. I'm optimistic. And we're continuing again just to monitor the bidding climate and reacting accordingly. Again, trying to look ahead of time.
So just to give you an update on where we are with Salzman, basically we're all set with the field house anyways. We have their certificate of occupancy that's being occupied, and there's really nothing going on in Maine right now. So we're concentrating our efforts on Salzman. On the East Addition, of course, we have all the interior framing and sheetrocking, mechanical work. There's a rooftop unit that will service the East Addition that we've just finalized the support steel in place. This week we'll set the curb that the rooftop unit itself will set on. It's a big piece of equipment that'll sit up there. So that's all being scheduled. And we've just started the north end stair E1 installation. We're finishing up we finished up the masonry on the stair tower. And now we just have to get the scaffolding out of the way, but while we're taking down scaffolding on the outside, Schenectady Steel will start to set the stairs on the inside. On the West Addition, we've got a roofing going on. We have our CMU, the exterior work. Basically, we're continuing working diligently, really hard to get the west wing enclosed like the east wing is at this point before any weather, which I am assured it's going to be a great winter and it's going to be as mild as last year. But just in case, we're trying to get the exteriors all enclosed. The windows are all loaded in the building. As soon as we're ready for them, they'll start to be installed in the west wing as well. And we have an RTU, a rooftop unit also as well that will be set on the West Addition, the curb this week. In Salzman Core generally, we're in the in the mechanical rooms and just in finalizing that area there. The freight elevator pit that goes up to service the cafeteria is underway. They've excavated for that and they've formed the foundation. And I believe as of Friday, they'll have poured the concrete for the pit itself. In general, furniture, submittal reviews, same as what we've been doing all along. We're getting narrowed down now with less and less of the submittals. We've just started doing the finishes and that type of thing, so now we have the flooring, the ceramic tile, that's been reviewed. Looking ahead, of course, the East Addition exterior finishes, the support steel for the RTU2, and then the exterior. I would shooting and scheduling to have the exterior of the west wing pretty well enclosed so that when you look at the west, it kind of looks at, like the east does now, about mid-December. Give you an idea of what this looks like. This is the east wing. This is where the bump out is. The brick is in place. We're waiting for both. We have two types of panels. We have a metal panel and we have a Michihot panel that goes into onto here. So that's within the next few weeks. So this is also the east elevation of the East Addition. As you can see, the windows are in place. This is the south and the west elevation. So as you move around, we're just putting in the last few windows that we had left out for a while for access, just to load material into the south end. But we've decided to leave the east open a little bit instead and close out that south end so as the traffic pattern for students and everything coming up around the south end of the East Addition is not quite as disruptive. We won't have trucks sitting in the driveway while buses are trying to get by. We'll have them right in on the site. It's the scaffolding that I was talking about on the staircase that will be coming down now that they've got the brick in place. And then they can finish up the curtain wall and windows in this area. This will take a couple of days to come down. Then they'll take this Hydermobile, which is a lift that they used to do the masonry, and they'll move it over on the west side between Tobin Whiston and the bump out. And then they'll start doing the masonry work on the West Addition, which is already sheathed and we're starting. So now we'll start with the block work on here, and so that we can get enclosure and then ready for the windows. Once the block is in, the windows can start to go in. It's the south. You can see where that's already started to be framed on the West Addition. This is where the bump out is. We had to have them fabricate and install brackets to hold the end in. So those brackets were just manufactured here on the end, and they were just put in place about a week ago. They go all the way up. And then again, you can see where the east side of the West Addition also on the lower level has been framed. Installation, now this will be the second stair W1 tower. This is the north stair of the West Addition. That'll end up looking like the last one we saw with all the scaffolding up on it. Hopefully within the next week or so you'll see that on this side. And then we just finished up, well not finished up, but we've installed the other set of stairs in the West Addition now. So at least now the access and going up and down through the stairs, we don't have to climb ladders. So next time we get a tour, we can actually get up and down onto the second and third floor of the West Addition without climbing ladders. Roofing, again, on the West Addition. This is the interior of the East Addition in the corridors. This would be the lower levels. As you go down, there's a little bit less done. As you go up, you can see a little bit more of the ductwork and the framing in place, as well as the third floor being sheetrocked and taped and the rooms divided and that type of thing. Nice and clean. You can see almost where the green is, where the lockers will go, and then above that will be the regular wall. Finishes. Yeah. Fireproofing, all of that going in place here on the east wing interior. We also put the ramps. Now this is where the opening will go from existing Salzman into the additions. And as you come out of the existing Salzman, you'll walk out onto a platform type thing. There'll be some ramps for ADA compliancy to go from building to building. They've got all of these poured at this point. which you can see how it was formed. It has, well, anyway. Anyways, it's going well. And this is the freight elevator, which is going up to the service, up to the cafeteria. So as you can see, there was a little bit of rock there. They got the rock out of the way, and then they formed the pit itself and poured the elevator. It's the elevator for the east wing has a delivery date of November 14th, and we'll start to install that. And as we go along now, we'll have the one for the east wing and the one for the west wing. We'll have the freight elevator that'll be following along with that, and then there's another elevator that goes in the south end of Salzman, which will be a while before we get to that. Going well. Oh, two other things. Everybody got their?
No.
No. It's in the library.
The summaries did go, okay.
Somewhere, it's in the library.
Well, actually,
It's in the.
Is that in the library?
It's in the full board attachment support document. On the red, agenda.
Executive summary?
The executive summary, it's on there.
No, it's in the library.
No, in the library.
It's in, yeah, it's on the third row, first thing in the third row. KCSD executive summary, October KHS project.
Right,
EDI.
on the board packet
Yeah.
backup documents.
Yeah.
thank you, very, very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. Are there any resolutions, any trustees you would like to put on the consent agenda? We do 2 donations on page 5. Actually, we'll do the consent agenda. Okay, hearing that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Ms. Guido, 2 donations, page 1.
Page. We have one donation tonight, whereas the King City School District is a recipient of a generous donation from E.C. Meyer PTA in the amount of $415. As a thank you to the Meyer PTA for that generous donation.
And then we have a grant award.
Oh, I didn't scroll down. And then we also have, second, whereas the George Washington Elementary School is a recipient of a generous grant award from the Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley Field Trip Fund in the amount of $1,316. Very generous from the Community Foundation, thank you.
And that brings us to Board of Education. We have committee report on policy. Mrs. Collins.
The policy committee last met on Friday, October 7th. We were joined by some observers, Dr. Tricobowitz was one of them. We spent most of the meeting reviewing the code of conduct, and also David Clegg, Esquire, joined us. I'm just looking for my notes here. Reinforcing the theme of presentation to the assistant superintendents. It's funny, we agreed that it's very important, especially for guidance counselors, to have continual professional development around this new philosophy that we're trying to embrace with PBIS and restorative justice and the new code of conduct. Because Mr. Clegg had asserted once again, we're really striving for fewer suspensions and looking at some alternative punishments. One of the things we have to do is we have to produce a plain language summary for all of our citizenry, parents. We thought it made sense to use November 8th, Election Day, to do work on this new model. So, as you guys had said earlier, Beth Sims joined us from Sharp Harrelson. That's one of our attorneys. And she's continuing to work on proper legal language and references in some areas that the committee had thought were vague. They also felt it important to work on supporting students who do go out on extended suspensions, particularly in making a smooth transition back. And we were thinking about maybe signing a student's a mentor or a counselor. Well, they already have a counselor, but somebody who's would be versed in that. We also felt that no one under the age of 10 should be suspended long-term. I think most of us concur with that. We did have, that really took up most of our very long meeting, which went 2 hours and 40 minutes. Excuse me. We did revisit briefly the subject of fingerprinting level 3 volunteers, which has been a question. That part of that policy had been suspended for a while. And the determination was that we can continue to do so. We can ask people to fingerprint, but not through the state education department. So we're charging Mr. Olson once again to look into some alternatives. As I said, we adjourned the meeting after 2 hours and 40 minutes. And we're going to move the rest of our tasks to next meeting, which will be normal first Friday, November 4th at 9 a.m. Did I leave anything out, anyone?
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins. Any questions? Yes, Dr.
So,
Schwartz.
I appreciated the opportunity to sit in on this meeting, and it was long. I didn't even stay, but wasn't able to stay for anything. So we will be making changes to our code of conduct?
What you were there when we went over that, the whole,
Yes.
the rules document?
And that will come before the board?
Yes, and it will come before the board for discussion, and then we do a public hearing. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And as maybe you weren't there for that part of the meeting, we were streaming suggestions in to Ms. Heidecker was working on it, and Mr. Parker is working on it. So we're hoping to finish that up, just that really a lot of issues needed that discussion at that last meeting.
Right. And then there will be a plain language kind of summary for everybody. And how does can you talk a little bit about the Jefferson Code and how that?
I wish Mrs. Bowers was here to do that.
Is that a separate thing, right? Or is that subsumed in the Code of Conduct?
That is a separate document. I think I wrote one thing down, but then I will defer to you, Ms. Sheehan, because that's, I have one note here from just my notes in the meeting from morning hours, where it says Jefferson Code CD more strict but never more lenient. It is a separate document. Do you want to take over?
It can be more strict, but not more lenient.
It can
That's
be
what I
more
wrote
strict,
down.
but it cannot be more lenient than the district code that was adopted. So- No.
We're trying to distinguish.
It can actually be more confining, it cannot be less. The Jefferson Code was something that was developed out of a project capable before the state of New York required an articulated code of conduct. So it was really in the vanguard. And it was something that was, actually came out of a social studies project. And the students worked on it and it had it articulated. It was an experiment in democracy and government and was to include all the stakeholders involved. So there were students involved, staff involved, board members, members of the public, parents, all involved in formulating the code. When the requirement came from the state to articulate the code of conduct, there had been so much work and there was quite a bit of history behind the Jefferson Code that we moved the Jefferson Code in as the code that would exist in principle. And the Jefferson Code comes up for public hearing. There's a hearing every January. And before we change it, there has to be public hearing at the board level too. So I don't know if that.
No, it does. I want to better understand how it interacted with this code of conduct policy that we have. But you've answered that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay. Welcome. Is that it, Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And we have no other committee reports. The facilities committee is meeting next Wednesday. It brings us to old business. Are there any items of old business that you just would like to raise at this point?
I don't know if
Yes.
it falls under old business, but we do have a meeting that Carolina facilitated with all of the parents from different buildings. Will you come in?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I thought Priscilla and I were there, and I thought it was a very positive step to implementing exactly what I think the vision of the district-wide parents council was. And we already have another meeting scheduled in November, and the committee decided that they would like the meetings to go from school to school so that everybody can see the schools. And the parents were very, very positive and already have communicated more probably than in a long time, and seemed happy to be there. So I think
Okay.
it was very positive.
A question, did the issue of when they would meet come up? Are you going to change
We're going to meet
them?
in the evenings at 5:30.
Okay.
And the next meeting's at JFK.
November 29th.
November 29th. And they're going to have one or two representatives, either, we hope, the president or a designee from each building. And I think there are only 2 buildings that were not represented.
Miller and High School.
Miller.
Or Miller Cross.
There is a rep from
Cross
Miller
Street.
though.
They might not have been
They
able to
couldn't
make
do
it.
that.
All right, that's all.
Mrs. Levy, you have anything to add?
I thought the next one.
Thank you.
The high school wasn't.
No, they answered.
The high school wasn't.
The high school parent association is not regrouped yet, but when they regroup, they'll have a representative. Mr. Reinhardt's working on it.
Thank you. Any other old business? Ms. Weaver?
Am I the only, I thought we, don't we have B41? New
yes,
business, new business? Okay, I thought that was, fell under old business.
No.
See.
Any other old business? Okay, I have just 2 reminders. If you have not yet, and Mr. Kern has also sent out a reminder, filed the application for the multicultural conference at SUNY New Paltz, please do so.
I have them here with me, including the class list, if anybody wants to sign up afterwards.
Okay. And the second thing is, you were promised a survey every other month, and a survey you shall get. It's all ready to go. You did get a communication from Dr. Paolino with evidence, and then there was more evidence in terms of progress on goals from the teaching and learning staff and the committee from last week, and we'll get some hard copy of the report and the feedback so that you can utilize that as well when you're marking your survey. Mr. Perna will send it out sometime before the next board meeting. Please turn it in on the 2nd of November, completed, if you would. We also thanked again Reverend Childs Jr. for his facilitation to the board retreat and sent him a copy of our feedback, which is also in the executive content of the board packet for you. So you have it. Okay. Thank you. New business. Now we do have a welcome resolution dealing with new business. And I'd like to preface this by saying, before anything is done on any building, we have to do a secret process. And regardless of whether we're going to address Mahar as administrative offices or administrative offices plus pre-K hub, there has to be a secret. So I do have a BOE 41, B41, it's under Business Operations Management, B41, a resolution for a secret for the capital project, should we decide to go ahead with that. So I will read it and then entertain a motion. Whereas the Board of Education of Kingston City School District has under consideration a capital project consisting of renovations, reconstruction, and improvements to the former Mahar Elementary School building, including site work, a proposed action, and whereas the Board of Education proposes to proceed with the proposed action and wishes to take all actions necessary in connection therewith in order to comply with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQRA, and whereas the proposed action, including each and all the components of the proposed action as described, are Type 2 actions pursuant to Section 617.5C1 and 8 of the secret regulations. And whereas the Board of Education believes that it should be designated as lead agency for the proposed action, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Kingston City School District is hereby designated as the lead agency under secret for the proposed action, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education determines the proposed action, including each and all of the components, is a type 2 action pursuant to section 17.5C1 and 8 of the secret regulations, and will not have any significant environmental impacts, and no further action is required. The contact person for the Kingston City School District is Dr. Paul J. Patalino, Superintendent of Schools. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Any discussion?
Let me describe this in English, readable terminology for.
In English, it's, you have to do a study on what kind of impact any type of project is going to have. And it must be done before any alteration of the building can take place. So this is general saying we're going to do the study, and it's a type 2 action, so it's not, maybe you can shed a little more light on the difference between type 1 and type 2. But
Type 2 really means there's minimal to no impact, and the review can be be very minor. If we were type 1, it would be a much larger review. So that's really
like the high school.
right.
Yeah.
So in plain English, this is the first step that we're taking.
It's the first step, and nothing can be done, regardless of whether we're going to do offices, or we do offices in pre-K, nothing can be done until this.
Can I just follow up, because that's what my thinking was. Dr. Patalino, when you say type 2 is a minimal as opposed to a type 1, does that mean financially as well, as far as what cost the district will incur to do that?
No, yes, absolutely, yeah. Type 2 would be significant cost. Type 1 would be a significant cost. Type 2 is very little cost. And then again, as Ms. Schurz said, this is the necessary step prior to a resolution in front of the board to consider a proposal to the task.
Any other questions? Ms. Guido? Oh, Mr. John, a second?
Well, I just want to explain to the public that may be watching in the audience. So back in June, we passed a resolution to consider a referendum for the renovation of Mahar for either district offices and or classrooms for both. Well, actually, district offices and classrooms would be fine. And so this is the next step. And the discussion back in June was that we would look at it, we would either decide to go forward or we would decide to drop it. So this is a decision to go forward.
It's a necessary step.
A necessary step to go forward rather than to discard it.
Yes.
But we will still, at a future date, have to vote on actual language for a referendum.
Yeah, and we're going to have to decide what we want to proceed with, how we want to proceed on that. It's one of our goals. We have to decide. Any other questions or comments? All right. Yes.
And we can expect that we'll be discussing that the next step of the next meeting.
Well, actually, our deadline is November 2nd. Those were the goals that you passed, so we would have to. That would be, yeah.
So should we have a discussion about that next week, or when we're discussing the referendum, or?
If you want to talk about your feelings about that, we all were here for the presentation, with the exception of Mr. Michael. I don't know, did you get an opportunity to review that? It was in the executive content from the last meeting. If you want to, but let's move. We have a motion.
I called the question.
Right now. Okay, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Abstentions? No. Okay. All right, so we're going to have a discussion.
I just wondered, would it be more appropriate to have it next meeting, or? Or be appropriate to have
Or
tonight?
it could be an ongoing discussion. I mean, we did
Yeah, well-
discuss it last meeting, we could continue discussion now, that's fine.
I think some things that between last meeting and now that become a little more clear to me is that the space that we will be renovating for classrooms don't necessarily need to be used for pre-K, so we could use them for alternative options or for moving, if they're just classroom space. So that will be the vote, is that we'll be turning a portion of the building into classroom space and a portion into administrative, if we decide to move in that capacity, correct?
Correct.
And that because we'll be using our own money to fund pre-K, we would be able to target populations. So our intentions would likely be to,
As a matter of fact, Dr. Kevin may like to speak to that, because we do have something in writing now.
Oh, yeah, we've been told by state advocate, and I asked for it in writing, that we would be able to, if we're using local funds, not the UPK, New York State grant funds, we can target, population that we want, that we think was most in need of these services. So if we wanted to target certain subgroups, we can do that. And again, back to answer your other question, if we're renovating the classrooms, right, there'll be multiple use. I mean, maybe we have UPK and we only have 2 classrooms full. So maybe we have 4 other classrooms that there's other use, so maybe it's many different things we can use it for. So there's opportunities there. And I think one of the things we learned just last week was, for the first time in, I think Mr. Strong said 15 years, we did not have a decrease in enrollment in the Kingston City School District last year to this year. We actually had an increase of 2 students. So from October to October. So that's a positive sign, and clear to have those classrooms.
Ms. Jordan?
Going along with what Ms. Vito said, I think that my understanding is that our intention is to go forward with a UPK that will provide for students who are not being serviced now. And one of the comments that was made tonight kind of supports the feeling that I had that we should try to have a bilingual class as well as going after the kids who are in free and reduced lunch.
I think we have a lot of opportunities, and if we go
And
forward,
so-
we have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, so those kinds of discussions though will be after the bonding, after the referendum, after all of that. So I think that right now, we just have to kind of focus on this study and then going forward to determine whether we're going to move administration or administration and students.
I don't think that conversation has to happen after the bond. I think we're going to continue this conversation
Okay.
through this whole process, and so we have,
But just to stay
an
on our
ongoing
timeline, going back to what Dr. Jacobo said, our timeline means that we have to do a referendum, like proposal, right?
Yes.
And then the date of the vote comes according to one. Okay.
And actually do, public sessions so that people can ask questions about, the scope of the project, and similar to what happened with Capital Project for the high school, where we made ourselves available to answer questions. The thing that struck me about last week's presentation was that there's very little difference in cost between renovating a building for utilization as administrative offices and renovating it for administrative offices plus classrooms. Because the classrooms, I think, they're being renovated, they're minimal renovations. They're newer and newer sections of the building. They really don't require extensive renovation. But there's only a $300,000 difference, and it almost makes no sense not to. In light of the fact that, we've already had one class at Kennedy make room for a kindergarten because of overages. And with the population, if it continues that trend and does grow, we may find ourselves in need of classroom space. And it would make sense to move pre-K classes before starting to move the K-4 classes.
Can we call it UPK if we're targeting a population? Doesn't that take
Yeah, that's a
universal
really
out of
good,
it?
thank you. Because UPK is a misnomer, first of all, and UPK refers pretty much directly to the state grant program, universal pre-K, which again is, a misrepresentation, because universal in my dictionary means everyone, and it doesn't, it doesn't take care of everyone. So there's UPK, which really is the grant funded program that we participate in with our partners in the community, and then there would be called district pre-cap, district pre-kindergarten, which would be the program that would be housed at Mahar, where we can, where we have a lot more flexibility in how we run that than we do with our partners. We're very tied into very strict rules within the grant funded program of UPK.
I think that's important language that we
It is.
we
It's very
begin to
important.
use because it sends a different message to the public, and also I think it's really important for the public to understand that these are classroom spaces that can be used for a variety, that we plan to assess enrollment prior to hiring teachers and prior to implementing programming. We're not going to, and that the intention is not to make it universal to serve all of the students in the district. Because most of them are already being served by our private partners who are wonderful, and we are not looking to take any business or students away from them.
Well spoken.
Thank you. And I know, another question I had last week. So the process is we do this, we're gonna, next meeting, vote on the referendum, and then where does that leave Sione? It's still not for sale when, we would wait till the referendum, we wait till.
I want to clear this with our attorneys, but I would say, it's not necessarily would we have to wait for the successful passing of a referendum. I think, we could put it listed for sale, and then in contract negotiations, as far as contract of sale, it could be, like similar to people who buy a house that still have to sell their house. There could be a contingency, we are going to sell this, but based on the idea we'll have a successful vote in whatever we decide to have that vote.
And then about 2 years after that.
Right, then also part of that conversation is a lease back for an amount of time that, to be determined through those negotiations.
Thank you.
Mr. Shinesky?
Well, just to be clear on that, it's not listing for sale. We will go out, it will be an RF, a request for bids.
Correct.
It's not going to be, here's the purchase price that we want. Submit your bid, and we have to take the best bid.
Right, and it will be, again, request for bids is a document that we will create here with the district, stating many of the things that we're talking about that have to happen.
With the dates, and they'll be posted, they'll be online, be public.
We'll do that.
And how long do we leave that?
30 days.
Yep. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, I guess we'll have a lively discussion next week, or next meeting.
2 weeks.
At the 2nd of November. Okay, any other new business that any of the trustees would like to raise? New business? Mrs. Jordan?
The only thing I had a question that came up during public comment, in terms of the Operation Lifesaver, I thought that we were doing something with track safety and that kind of thing.
I have to look into it.
Okay.
No,
I didn't
I
know
will.
if it was through this or if this was another resource.
I'll get back to the board on that.
Okay, thank you.
There's also, the city is moving forward with its safe routes to school.
Yes.
Right.
That we're involved with. What is the district involvement with that?
Really, we've just been involved in the planning stages of it. We're a supporter. We've actually written letters of support for them, but it's a grant that we didn't receive. We're just a party to and actually will benefit from.
Okay. Any other business? Board member announcements? Okay. Well, coffee and conversation. Okay, next Tuesday, October 25th, at 6 p.m. at St. John's Episcopal Church on Albany Avenue, There will be a coffee and conversation opportunity, and Mrs. Lau and Reverend Childs will be present for that, as well as Dr. Pavolino. On this past Tuesday, the 18th, at Uptown Coffee, Mr. Shumsey and I were there at 12:30 to 1:30 for coffee and conversation. We had a very lively discussion. Many of the people who came to the coffee and conversation were concerned about the ski team. So, but there was also a woman who wanted to start homework help out of the Hurley Library, and she wanted to know how to go about it. We gave her Ms. Heidecker's contact information, told her if she got permission, she could post something on the community bulletin board, and she didn't really have a schedule or anything yet, so we just really answered some questions and gave her some pointers for what you could do with that. There was also a woman who was asking about restorative justice, and I told her we were moving ahead with the revision of the code of conduct to include restorative consequences that were optional for parents, and she would like to hear that. And then we had a parent who wanted to know, how to get more involved in her child's school. And I told her it'd be a very good idea if she were to join the PTA and become an active participant in that. So that was pretty much it. Do you have something to add, Mr. Schultz?
No, I think that was, you covered all the bases.
Okay. All right.
I just have one quick announcement.
Yes.
Just a little something new and different coming out of our athletic department. Our captains of our fall sports teams are doing public service announcements on local radio. So just to listen for public service announcements on sportsmanship and things of that nature from our team captains from our fall sports. We'll do it in the winter sports also and spring, but those are going out over the air starting, I think, next week. If you're driving around town, listen to local radio, several of the stations are around.
Okay, any other board member announcements? All right, that brings us to the second opportunity for public participation. Again, same rules, 2 minutes. It's not a conversation, and this department will act when you're approaching the 2 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the board at this point?
Some of you look at me like I have two heads because of why I'm concerned. Last Thursday, our children in this district walked through SWAT teams, FBI, etc., arresting 46 people for oxycodone, firearms, Glocks, heroin. Shall I go on with the drugs that they arrested? My daughter would have been walking through those SWAT teams if she had walked. So apparently our side of the town is expendable. Try walking someday with a 35-pound backpack in the dark, because in 2 weeks it will be dark as they're walking, carrying an instrument, a backpack, and going through that area. I challenge you as board members to do it by yourselves.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board at this point?
My name is Kristen Newell. I did send an email to the board members, and I'm not going to read that or recap that today. I'm simply going to say that as you move forward with the project at Mahon, it seems as if you are, I urge you to put your thumb on the pulse of what this district needs, be that pre-K, special education, alternative learning, an area for BOCES to expand their programs. Just keep an open mind of how you can use that space and the best way to service our children. And also, it really comes down to communication. I know for myself, for my mother, and I will speak for Jen as well, we want to be advocates for the district. We work closely, we're partners. But it comes from communication, clear, honest, open communication. And thank you to the 2 board members that did respond to my email. But that's part of the obligation of the board, is to keep communication open and to respond to constituents, taxpayers, community members. We want to help. We can't if we don't know. And we want want to be on your side with this. We know this isn't a personal grudge towards UPK providers, but we can't be if we don't know what's happening. And I just urge as you move forward to keep continuing being honest and open, and we'll help the best we can.
Anyone else? Since we have no need for a second executive session, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Good evening.